Hello everyone, my name is PaperNapkin and welcome back to another episode of Let's Play Final Fantasy 1. In the last episode we went to the Northwest Castle where we agreed to find the crown in the Cave of the Marsh. We came back to Elfland and I went over all the different items available in the shops here, kind of pointed out what would make the Cave of the Marsh that much easier, and I also pointed out a couple areas to get some pretty quick levels. As you can see, I did that leveling off screen and most of my party members are now level 10. Lexa did die at one point and missed out some experience points, but she's not that far behind. If we take a look at equipment, I got the silver swords for Paper and Lexa, and you probably noticed that Pancake no longer has the iron nunchucks. And that's because at level 10, black belts get a hit percentage of 32, and this is where they really start to take off in terms of damage. When you remove their weapon, they start doing some pretty crazy damage with their bare fist, and it just gets exponentially larger. So look out for that. Pancake will finally become useless, as opposed to doing little damage and missing all the time. In terms of armor, nothing changed. Lexa can't use the wooden shield, so I should probably sell that, but I didn't get around to that. In terms of magic, I picked up some spells for Lexa. She, or he, it's kind of hard to tell with a red mage, but I picked up Ice, Temper, and Anti-Lightning. I also picked up Fire 2, Lightning 2, Cure 2, and Fast, which I can't use just yet, but the next level I will be able to. In terms for Hope, for magic, I picked up Anti-Lightning, Invisibility, Mute. Mute was just kind of filler, I'm not actually going to use it. Harm 2, Heal, and Anti-Fire. And I'm feeling pretty confident that I can take on the Marsh Cave, and just as insurance, I also picked up some heal potions, a couple pure potions as well, and a couple cabins. But I think I'm pretty much ready to take it on. So let's head over that way. It's kind of in the same general direction as the Northwest Castle. You just kind of go over here, but instead of going all the way north, you want to go west. There's actually two western passages that you can go through. This is the first one. Don't go down that way, it just leads to a dead end. The one you want is just up here. And the Marsh Cave is not too far away. I'm probably going to make it look a lot easier than it actually is, just because I am so well prepared. But you never know. This game does have the tendency to kind of throw a curveball at you periodically, so be on the lookout for that. But as you can see, this hole in the ground is actually the Marsh Cave. This blue stuff on the green is kind of swampy, I guess. But without further ado, let's take on this first dungeon. So right off the bat, there's two different ways we can go. If you go to the top route, I guess north, you know, it's 2 dimensions, so it's kind of hard to tell. If you go north, it leads to another level, which is filled with treasure. Kind of a dead end, but we're going to go that way first. Kind of makes sense. After doing that, it's a good idea to come back and go to the surface. If you have a tent or cabin, might as well use that, but we'll see how it goes. There are a lot of new enemies in here, and some of them are better than others. This is the Scum. These things are interesting to say the least. They're pretty good defensively. I think they're supposed to be immune to physical attacks, but the power of the silver sword should be able to cut right through that defense, and same with the fists of a black belt, but we'll see. And 4 hits, 4 damage. Okay, maybe not. I might have to use some magic here, but try to conserve. Well, silver swords are great. They're just so overpowered. Whoa, 2 hits, 2 damage. I guess only sometimes it can get through, but I'm just gonna use a Fire 2 to get through this. Try to save your spell charges in terms of healing, just because you can come back to the surface and use a tent or cabin or whatever, but in a situation like this, might as well just go for it. And look at that freaking damage. Oh my goodness. It's kind of got a huge range, but when it does hit that kind of upper scale, it does pretty amazing damage and can make quick work of large groups of enemies. And there's all these bats around. I hate those bats. And we have some more new enemies. We have zombies and ghouls, and these are obviously undead. They're weak against fire, but they're also weak against holy or harm spells. So I'm going to use Harm 2, show off the power of that spell, because it is also pretty freaking amazing. But look at that, 108 damage with the silver sword. Oof. Their physical attacks can stun, as you can see. Kind of annoying, so quicker you can kill them, the better. Harm 2. 100 damage. Wow. Well, 66. It's also got a huge range, but when it does hit that upper echelon, it's pretty crazy. And in the newer versions, when you actually have magic points, you can like spam these spells, and it makes leveling so much easier. It actually makes the entire game a lot easier, which is one of the reasons why I decided not to do Dawn of Souls. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's a great game, and you know, they fix a lot of things that needed fixing, but I do like a little bit of a challenge. This room here has 3 kind of rooms in it, I guess, each of which contains treasure. Other than that, there's not much going on here, so I'm just going to show the treasure. Hopefully it's something good. Can't actually remember. First is a large knife, which is not useful, but I could sell it. Though it's only going to give me like not even 100 gold, so it's kind of worthless. And oh my goodness, this is... Bats, move out of my way. God dang it, that's why I hate bats. They always just tend to get in my way. And always my way. Other people, when they play this game, it's fine, but just me every single time. 680 gold, not too shabby. And this place is actually pretty good to level up if you have 4 white mages, or you're doing some sort of solo white mage run, which is pretty ridiculous, just because there is so many undead creatures here. And this room actually has 2 chests. One is a short sword, which is kind of outdated, and some more gold. So, not the greatest of treasure, but it's better than nothing, really. And I mean, we really haven't been getting that much treasure. And actually, at this point, I'm gonna meet you back at the entrance, and then we'll take the southern path. And we are back. I just used a quick cabin just to recoup any hit points I had lost, and I'm running into a lot of undead creatures, which is pretty good experience points. At this fork here, don't go to the right. This leads to a dead end. There's no treasure. There's no nothing, and it's just wasting your time. But if we come down here, we will find the entrance to the next level. If I don't walk into the wall, that is. There's not a whole lot going on in this room. There are a couple of other rooms that I think they have chests, but if you picked up the treasure in the other rooms, I think they'll be empty. It's kind of like a conditional treasure chest, so depending on which way you go, it'll either have treasure or not. I'm just going to forego it, as I'm going to pick up the treasure from all the other chests. If you just go through here, we will finally make it to the last level of the dungeon, and things are going pretty well. We haven't come across any of the enemies that I'm kind of really afraid of, mainly the cockatrices, but knock on wood. This room is interesting in that it has 16 rooms in it. They're arranged neatly in a 4x4 pattern. Some of them have treasure in it, some of them don't. I'm going to show you the ones that do have treasure. Might as well. I don't think you guys want to see empty rooms. In here, iron armor. At this point, we already have some for our fighter, and if you don't, you probably shouldn't be down here just because your absorb is going to be so low. But we can sell it for 400 gold or whatnot. Next up, I believe there should be something in here, and there's not. Okay. Did not anticipate this. I think there might be something in this one then. If I remember my pattern. Here we go. We have a copper armlet, or bracelet, whatever I've been calling it. I'm going to give this to Hope, just because even though it's only 4 absorb, it does make a little bit of a difference. Next up, if we head over here, there should be something in here. There's 2 chests in here. Well, there you go. This treasure box empty. I'm not sure if that's a conditional treasure chest. It might actually be. But in this one, we find a house, which is pretty useful. I should also point out that the bottom 4 rooms, we can't access them just yet. We need that key item, but there is treasure in them, so we'll have to come back when I get that. Next up, I believe if we go to the next, there should also be something in here. Or maybe not. Am I confused? I'm lost already. You would think it'd be pretty easy to figure out with the 4x4 pattern, but that's obviously not the case. Here we go. This is what I was looking for. As you can kind of tell, there's something pretty magical hidden here. The tile above me, it's what's called a fixed encounter, so regardless of when you step on it, you're going to encounter a random battle. And in this battle, it's usually fixed against a certain enemy, and this can be good later on, especially in certain dungeons where there's an enemy you can exploit, but you can use it as a good way of leveling up. If we step on this tile, we will come across the wizard, and luckily we only come across 2. Normally, It's, I think, 1 to 4, with 3 being the average, obviously. Don't let the name fool you. Wizards, they don't actually use any magic spells, but they have really good physical attack, which is kind of stupid. They're strong against ice and fire, but they're kind of... well, they're not weak to lightning, but they take normal damage from lightning, so... the sooner you can end this battle, the better. And wow, look at that, 108 damage. I'm not actually too worried about that. That was a cakewalk, actually. Well, if you're not as prepared as me, that can be a bit of a doozy of a battle. Pretty good experience points, pretty good gold. If you want to kind of go back and forth and grind on this style, that's... I mean, I've done it before, it works. But we do get the crown, which we can take back to the Elf King. So this dungeon's actually almost done with. There's a couple more treasure chests for us to pick up, but other than that, I mean, this is going pretty swimmingly. Knock on wood. Please don't come across any cockatrices. But all that's left in here that we can actually do for the moment is get, or I think it's at one more. One last little bit of treasure should be up here. And yeah, there we go. And 300 bucks. That's not too great, but yeah, that's pretty much the Marsh Cave. I feel like I've let you all down. I was kind of hyping it up as being something really difficult. If you come here below level 8-ish, it will be pretty difficult, especially if you don't have all the equipment. But having those silver swords definitely makes a huge difference, because you're pretty much killing enemies in one hit, whereas if you didn't have it, it would take, 2 or 3 rounds. And that's damage that adds up over time when they do attack you. Also in here, a lot of enemies do use a lot of poison-based hits. Cockatrices can stone you. I did have a lot of pure potions, and I did have to use them, so that's also something to keep in mind. But now that we're done in here, I'm thinking I should meet you over at the Northwest Castle, where we can turn in the crown, and hopefully find out where Astos is and why he has Matoya's crystal ball. And we are back at the Northwest Castle, so let's give the king back his crown, and hopefully he'll give us a nice, handsome reward. Why, hello, I have your crown. But what's this? Turns out the king is actually Astos in disguise? Didn't someone actually say he was a master of disguise? Bum bum bum, it makes so much sense now! And he has Matoya's crystal, for no apparent reason. So, yeah, Astos wants to kill us, but we're about to kick his ass. But you guys are gonna have to wait until the next episode of Let's Play Final Fantasy 1. My name is PaperNapkin. Take it easy, folks.